What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today, we are going back to the 2006 NFL Draft as we look at the draft pick trade that would lead to the selection of Jay Cutler. This trade actually took a few other trades that I was looking to do out of the picture, so it made sense to loop them all together and do a big Jay Cutler trade video. So the original trade saw the Denver Broncos acquire the 11th overall selection from the St. Louis Rams in exchange for the 15th and 68th picks. Again, this is in 2006. So how did this work out? Well, so obviously with the 11th pick, the Denver Broncos would select quarterback Jay Cutler. And Cutler became a starter in December of his rookie year. He was supposed to be a backup until around then anyway, so it made sense. It was perfect timing. And he would actually do well. He didn't excel, but he wasn't bad. Now he becomes the starter, unquestioned starter in 2007, and he slowed down, but he was still good. Now, 2008, he would improve slightly, and after the 2008 season, it became clear that he wasn't the guy, and he ends up getting traded, but he did make one Pro Bowl for Denver. So he gets traded to the Chicago Bears along with a 2009 fifth-round pick, in exchange for quarterback Kyle Orton and 3 draft picks, a 2009 first, 2009 third, and a 2010 first. So we're going to stick with Denver, and we'll go back and we'll cover everybody else after. So with that 2009 first round pick, it would become the 18th pick. The Broncos would select defensive end Robert Ayers. And Robert Ayers himself, he had a quiet first 2 years in the NFL. Now, he would have a career year in his third year in Denver, and then he would actually move to a backup role for 2 more years in Denver before he would leave the team. So, all in all, not the most impressive. And quarterback Kyle Orton. So, Kyle Orton had a solid first year in Denver as the starter. Now, he ends up getting replaced by Tim Tebow towards the end of the 2010 season after struggling a bit, and then he struggles again in 2011 and ends up getting cut. So not the most successful acquisition. Now, the other 2 picks that Denver gets, they end up trading. So that 2009 third-round pick becomes the 84th overall. Now, they would trade that along with the 79th pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers in exchange for the 64th and 132nd. So, again, this is in 2009 still. So the 64th pick in 2009, Denver would select tight end Richard Quinn. And Richard Quinn just was a special teamer for 2 years before being waived, so nothing spectacular about him. Now, at the 132nd pick, they would select guard Seth Olsen, and Olsen would only appear in 3 games over 1 season before being cut by Denver. So not the best trade for them. Now we go to 2010 here, and in the 2010 first-round pick that Denver got from Chicago, it would be the 11th pick. They would trade it to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for picks 13 and 113. So, yeah, and of course, Denver, keeping in the spirit of trading, ends up trading both of these picks. So we'll start with the first one here. And the 13th overall pick in the 2010 draft ends up getting traded again to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for picks 24, 70, and 87. So, yeah, and the 24th pick, now that ends up getting traded, and we'll discuss that momentarily. We'll get to that shortly. So just completely disregard the 24th pick at the second. The 70th pick ends up getting traded as well. And this gets traded. It's already been discussed in the Tim Tebow trade breakdown video. So if you haven't seen that one, check it out. Link will be in the description below. So lastly, with the 87th pick in 2010, the Broncos would select wide receiver Eric Decker. And Eric Decker was a special teamer as a rookie. He would improve during his second season. And then he had a massive breakout in 2012 and did even better in 2013 before he would leave the team and essentially chase money, unfortunately for them and him. But he still had a couple good years in Denver. So now we'll go back up here to the 113th pick. Now the 113th pick was bundled with the aforementioned 24th pick. So they sent both of those to New England in exchange for the 22nd pick. Again, it's a little messy. I apologize for that. That's just Denver trading a lot. So the 22nd pick becomes wide receiver Demaryius Thomas, who had a quiet rookie year, and then he would tear his Achilles in February of 2011 but would return for the start of the season, believe it or not, in the 2011 season. Now, he had a great second year, and he broke out even more so in 2012 with Peyton Manning as his QB. And then he did even better in 2013 before dominating in 2014. Now, he still did well in 2015 and 16, and he was still on the team in 2017, but he was good, not great. Now, in 2018, he ends up getting traded. So, he gets traded along with a 2019 7th-round pick to the Houston Texans in exchange for a 2019 4th and 7th-round picks. Now, I should mention, too, Demaryius Thomas was a 5-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time second-team All-Pro while in Denver. So, what did Denver do with those two 2019 picks? Well, the 4th rounder would become the 125th pick, and with that pick, they would actually trade it to Cincinnati, along with the 52nd and 182nd for the 42nd pick. So, what does that end up becoming? Simply put, the 42nd pick would become quarterback Drew Lock. So, Drew Lock, he's been very up and down. So he would start the last 5 games of the 2019 season. He had real flashes of upside, but then really struggled at other times. And then we have the 2020 season where he just didn't look good. He looked okay at best. So jury's out on Drew Lock at this point. His career in Denver as a starter might be over. Now we go back to the 237th pick. And with that pick, they would trade it to the Carolina Panthers with the 212th pick for the 187th pick. The 187th pick would become wide receiver Juwan Winfrey. And Winfrey only appeared in 3 games before getting injured and being cut by Denver. So that finishes Denver. Long history here. So let's look at the St. Louis Rams. So St. Louis, with the 15th pick, selected cornerback Ty Hill. And Ty Hill had a solid rookie year, but injuries would end his next 2 seasons early, and then he ends up getting traded. So he's traded to the Atlanta Falcons for a 2010 7th-round pick to tell you how bad his value was at that point. And that 7th-round pick would be the 226th pick in the draft, with which the Rams would select defensive end George Selvey. And George Selvey just spent 1 year as a backup before being cut. So, yeah, needless to say, not that great. Now, with the 68th pick, the Rams would select defensive end Claude Roughton. And Roughton was a backup for 2 years before getting suspended for performance-enhancing drugs and then being cut. Not that great of a trade for St. Louis. So now we have everyone else to discuss. So we'll start with the Chicago Bears. And Chicago, they got Jay Cutler, obviously. So Cutler didn't look that great in 2009. Now, he would actually lead the league in interceptions. And he had a strong 2010, but at this point, it was clear that he was out of the top status of quarterbacks. He wasn't a top quarterback anymore. He had an okay 2011 and a stronger 2012 before a solid 2013. And then 2014, he looked decent, but he led the league in interceptions once more. And he had a very good 2015 before being cut after an injury-prone 2016 season. Did not make any Pro Bowls or anything for Chicago, unfortunately, for the Bears. Now, the 2009 5th-round pick would become the 140th pick, with which they would select wide receiver Johnny Knox. And if you know Johnny Knox, you know that it's a story of success but injuries. So he flashed elite speed and playmaking ability, but injuries just ruined him. It really stunk. He did make 1 Pro Bowl, though, fortunately for Chicago. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. So remember, they got 2 picks in 2009. The 79th pick they used on guard Craig Urbik. And Urbik was cut after not playing over a single season, so bad pick. Now, with the 84th pick, they would select wide receiver Mike Wallace. And Mike Wallace actually had a decent rookie year before breaking out big time in 2010 and even more so in 2011, getting 1,000 yards in each season. He did regress slightly in 2012, but he ends up walking. He did make 1 Pro Bowl for Pittsburgh. Oh, no, not a bad pick for Pittsburgh at all. So next we have the San Francisco 49ers. So the 49ers, remember, they traded up 2 spots in 2010. They would select with the 11th pick offensive tackle Anthony Davis. And he was a good starter for the first 4 years of his career, starting all possible 64 games. Now, he would start half of the 2014 season before taking off in 2015. And he would only play, he would take off 2015, I should say, sorry. And then he would only play one game in 2016 before retiring. So not the best pickup. Next, we have the Eagles. And with the 2010 13th overall pick, they would select defensive end Brandon Graham. And so Brandon Graham, you guys know I'm an Eagles fan. I didn't write any notes for this one. He ends up tearing his ACL early on. I believe it was his rookie year. And from there on out, he just became one of those pro football focused darlings that everybody always underrated, understandably so. He never got the sacks, but he always got the pressures. He always got the hurries. He always got the QB hits. He just never got the sacks. He would end up breaking out finally in a contract year for him. He ends up re-signing with the Eagles, continues to dominate. Obviously, Super Bowl 52, the strip sack of Tom Brady, the only sack of the game for the Eagles. And yeah, Brandon Graham made one Pro Bowl in the 2020 season so far, and it looks like he still has a lot to give. So at this point in time, he's actually the only player from non-2019 that's still on his original team. So heck of a pick by the Eagles. Love Brandon Graham. Next, we have the New England Patriots. So their 24th overall pick in 2010 was traded. We're not going to discuss that. Now, what's interesting is we have the 113th pick, and oh boy, they would select tight end Aaron Hernandez. So as you all know, Aaron Hernandez was an elite tight end for 3 years. You know, really good player, signs a massive contract extension. We're not going to get into what happens off the field, but he gets cut. We all know what happened. Great pick from a football standpoint for New England, but outside of the football standpoint, bad pick. They tried, they failed. Houston Texans. So Demaryius Thomas, he would struggle over the 7 games before he would rupture his Achilles against the Eagles, believe it or not, on Christmas Eve, I believe it was, and then he ends up getting cut by the team. Now, the 2019 7th round pick would be the 220th pick overall. With that pick, Houston would select fullback Colleen Gillespie, and he's been a good blocking fullback. He's never going to get the stats because he's a blocking fullback. Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. So now we're in 2019 again, and with the 2019 52nd overall pick, the Bengals would select tight end Drew Sample, who hasn't made too much of an impact, but he has potential. So we'll see what happens with him. The 125th pick would be used on defensive tackle Wendell Wren, and he was a backup as a rookie, and he ends up getting hurt and placed on the IR for the 2020 season, unfortunately for him. With the 182nd pick, they would select running back Travion Williams, and Williams has been a special teamer since making the team. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers themselves actually used the 212th pick on offensive tackle Dennis Daly, who's been an okay starter for the team, but he got hurt week 1 of 2020. And then the 237th pick was used on wide receiver Terry Godwin, who was cut before playing a single game for the Panthers. Lastly, we have the Atlanta Falcons, who traded for cornerback Ty Hill, and Hill was an okay backup for a single season before leaving the team. That was the Jay Cutler trade. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a little longer than normal, but that's what happens when Denver decides to wheel and deal a ton of picks. Again, this took out a few videos that I was thinking about doing, including Brandon Graham, Drew Lock, and Aaron Hernandez. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good rest of your day.